is like their captain who is going to begin his presentation. Yeah, Umamana.
Chalo Falava. My name is Chavi, and there are two programs in our office. Is the one we oversee the Governor's Biodiversity Conservation Office, and now we are coordinating the first American Samoa Biosecurity leadership team. So here is a photo of the American Samoa Biosecurity leadership team during the regional biosecurity training in Guam. We are very grateful to the Office of Insular Areas for providing more than $100,000 to pay for the travel of 20 members to attend and learn from the regional biosecurity training in Guam in November 2023. All right, next slide. So one of our first projects is to create, develop, research, and write a first comprehensive American Samoa biosecurity plan. So here is a photo. And the team includes ASG and federal agencies, but particularly the local agencies, which include the Governor's Office, the Governor's Residence Office, and the Biodiversity Office, the American Samoa Community College, land grant, the Department of Treasury, the Custom, the Department of Agriculture, particularly the Quarantine Division, Department of Commerce, the Coastal Management team, the Department of Health, Department of Port Administration, the American Samoa EPA, the American Samoa Coral Reef Advisory Group, the Department of Marine and Wildlife, the Office of Disasters Assistance and Petroleum Management, and a couple of nonprofit organizations. And so this is a photo of our consultant that we hired from New Zealand. It was advertised, so several organizations applied, but we select this expert scientists, biosecurity scientists from New Zealand based on their experience and the work they have done throughout the Pacific in Samoa, Cook Islands, and Palau, where they developed a similar plan that is relevant to what we are looking for. So here, interviewing, during a visit in July, interviewing 24, we conducted 24 face-to-face interviews during a 10-day visit. This is an example of a conversation about finding information and important criteria that we're looking for to prepare, especially the area of prevention, how we prevent harmful and destructive invasive species from coming here. So here we're talking to the Custom, the K9 Chief Elisara, and his K9 team, and a couple of his Custom officers. Next slide. So here, another meeting with the Department of Agriculture, Chief Quarantine, Manu'a, that's sitting in the front here, and Leafy. And so one of the first challenge, but we see it as an opportunity that came out of this meeting, is the issue of overlapping of responsibility among local agencies. So we see it as a good thing. Next slide. You know, for example, more people, when different agencies kind of focus on similar topics of removing invasive species or replanting mangroves or restoring wetlands, it's a good thing because there are more invasive species problems and issues than people living here on the island. So this is an example. Our office focus on protecting our native ecosystem from invasive species as of today. You mainly dispatch more than 57,000 invasive birds. So there are 3 species of invasive bird in American Samoa: the minor bird, the common minor, and the pulpul bird. And we learn how to cook them and create a recipe for other important purposes. Next slide. So here, the office, we were given a mandate by our supervisor, the Honorable Chief of Staff, Honorable Lefioma Fasina Loa, Tumavave Pola. We have to focus on writing grants and finding the money, because he said, you know, conservation without funding is just a talk. So we don't like that. So we have to do a lot of networking and communicating with our federal partners, especially OIA. So here sitting in the front is Honorable Vanita from OIA, and Peso Oatley. He was here, the director of the OIA Policy Office. They are very helpful in every conservation project that we propose. So thank you so much, Vanita. So go back to that slide. As you see here, some of the projects, there are 6 active projects at this time. So a couple of them include funding to help restore 4 wetlands in American Samoa: Leone, Masefau, Alofau, and Awa. Restore wetlands and mangrove forest areas. So this is important to this conference, because improving and restoration of mangrove rainforests help protect coastal areas from the velocity of the waves and prevent soil erosion. And wetlands also help filter the sedimentation and the runoff, all the dirt. You know, there's a lot of feral pig, wild pigs, even feral cattle, wild cattle, cows. We ran into a couple of them last year above the Marae'imi area. So the wetlands are like the kidneys of the earth. They filter all the dirt and before the water goes out to the estuary, where they help breed all the important fish like the angae and other important marine resources. So these two projects, we got the funding, but we are almost complete with the NEPA. We have to, the environmental compliance. So we have to follow the law because it's very important. And so this funding, OIA gave us funding to develop and write the biosecurity plan. That's the second phase. The first phase, the USDA, Forest Service, thank you. They gave us the seed funding of $100,000 to hire the consultants, as you see in the previous slide. The other ones below, there's 7 at this time, 7 proposed, pending authorization, new projects in the pipeline. So we have to do a lot of readjusting, a lot of building of capacity and hiring and for our program, so we can adjust to the workforce, especially training the workforce and retaining the experienced staff that we have, very important. Next slide. So Mark. So this is one of the pending projects. So I select a couple of important projects that are pending because the folks who make the decisions are here. So we want to take advantage of the opportunity. Mark?
Thank you, Director. So this is an example of one of the items that Director Tavita shared that we're requesting funding. It's also an example of an area where multiple agencies are working together to address a critical biosecurity gap. So also want to credit our Department of Agriculture, who would be the lead with this potential fumigation and incineration capacity building project. As the Deputy Director of Agriculture mentioned, we're highly dependent on imports of food and multiple other items. At the same time, we're an isolated island out in the Pacific Ocean and therefore very susceptible to exotic invasive pests that may be coming in with some of those imports. So a critical gap that we have, most places that import a lot of stuff, they have a capacity to treat things, to eliminate pests on incoming articles. And one of the main methods they use is fumigation with methyl bromide. But this is a capacity that we don't have here. One of the only places in the world that doesn't have this capability. So when things come into this island that are heavily infested, it's a big challenge for us. And prevention is really the key with these exotic invasive pests. So this is a gap that we're hoping to fill with this new funding that we're applying for right now, is to develop fumigation capacity for American Samoa. It would be a small scale unit similar to what is used in other Pacific Island contexts. I also mentioned that it's an interagency effort. It's very important that this be done safely. Methyl bromide is a very toxic chemical, so we're also working closely with our local EPA. We're going to have a meeting with them tomorrow, also with the US EPA Zoom conference to ensure that we're doing this in a safe manner that's compliant with all the regulations. The other critical gap that we need to fill is incineration. So when items come in that are heavily infested with some kind of pest, there's no way to safely eradicate that pest and allow that item to come into the island and be used. It needs to be destroyed in a way that will ensure that any pests or pathogens are also destroyed. So that's where the incineration comes in. So those are the two items that we're looking at to try to get funding to support filling those critical biosecurity gaps. Yeah, Director Tavita also asked me to mention something about the little fire ant. You saw that was another major proposal that we're submitting, over $2 million for 4 years to really focus on eradication of little fire ants. So people who live here are mostly familiar with another fire ant, which is the tropical fire ant. It came here in 2002 and subsequently spread around into all the islands except for Swains and Rose Island in American Samoa. In 2018, we found a different kind of fire ant for the first time here, the little fire ant. Much smaller, different color, but actually much more damaging in many ways. This little fire ant lives not only on the ground, but also on the shrubs and way up in the trees. So you enter any area that's infested with little fire ants, if you're working in your garden, you're working on your farm, you're hiking in the forest, you don't just get stung on your feet, you get stung all over your body as these ants are actually falling down from the vegetation onto you. So if these little fire ants successfully establish and spread in American Samoa, it's going to affect all aspects of life here. Farming, gardening, working outdoors, all of it will be affected. So right now we've demonstrated effective methods for controlling little fire ants in the infestations that we've had. The need currently is to scale that up dramatically to be commensurate with the scale of the problem right now. So that funding would allow us to hire 2 teams, 5 to 6 people per team, vehicles, and all the other equipment and supplies that would be needed to seriously address this problem before it becomes totally out of hand. So, thank you.
I submitted a list of our proposed project to my immediate supervisor, the chief of staff, and he selected the top 4 to pursue. So this is one of them. In fact, this is Chief Loa's number 1 pick, is to study and conduct a rat eradication feasibility study to eradicate invasive rats or feral ungulates from the Manu'a island, but we have to start from Ofu and Orosenga and Nuteli. So, I mean, none of us have done any kind of rat eradication. So here is where our federal partners comes in, like Vanita, the SPREP. So we engage the top scientists from the SPREP, the South Pacific Regional Environment Program, and the New Zealand Department of Conservation, the Island Conservation, Dr. Richard Griffins, as well as the SPC to advise us. So there is no excuse of not doing this kind of work at this time. So next slide. So the reason why we're doing this is to help protect some of the endangered species that listed by the U.S. Federal Fish and Wildlife. The friendly ground dove only found in Ofu, in all the islands. So only found in Ofu, in Manu'a, and as well as the endangered snail, the Tutuila snail, tree snail. So we have to remove the rats and figure out a integrated project, because there's also feral pigs over there, feral dogs, feral cats, because if we remove the rat, so the cat will maybe turn on and come back and eat all the birds. So, but the rat is the most difficult one. So we have to figure the rat, and the rest is not that is doable. Next slide. So here's the map of the islands, and that is the mission that's given to us, that we have done all the conservation project on Tutuila, but we have no active ecosystem restoration project in Manu'a. So we have to create a field crew to deal with invasive species in Manu'a, to protect the farms, the taro plantations, and so forth. Next slide. So here is one of, it's important to conduct the feasibility study first to see how we can protect the non-targets like the uwu, the coconut crab, and other native birds before we implement the actual plan. So, and these are the methods that, and talk to the traditional village council. So we're thinking that we might be using drones, maybe helicopters, very expensive, But that's the nature of this kind of projects. But it's doable. It's doable. And also on food to distribute the bait. You know, this kind of project will be opportunity for high school students who are very good in playing with their phone, you know, flying the drone like a pilot. So opportunities for young students and young scientists in Manu'a. Next slide. So here's another one. I think this is the last one. I want to thank Director of Marine Wildlife. The minute I heard on the news that they established a marine protected area in Phang Sa, I immediately thought about this project to complement, you know, a sister or brother agency's work. I know that area because that's where we started our Tamalingi removal project back in 2001, more than 20 years ago. So we have to go back and remove the seed sources, the Tamalingi seedlings, and the seed bank that is being activated by disturbance during the previous strong winds and cyclones, because Tamalingi increased the level of nitrates, pretty much salt, increased the level of nitrates and nitrogen in the soil, and could end up in the coral reef, which really impact the marine ecosystem. Also, you know, as you all know, if you're coming from Phang Sa, in our beloved village of Phang Sa, is that Tamalingi has a shallow root system. Shallow root system, meaning the roots doesn't go very deep in the soil. So every time we have a cyclone, Tamalingi sort of like facilitate a lot of landslide, and that creates a lot of sedimentation and soil erosion. It really impacts the reef. But native trees, their root system are very deep and important for the habitat of wildlife, and it doesn't impact the coral reef on the coastal area. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to your question and working together with you in the future. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going right to the panel. So here's the biosecurity panel. You know, and again, this biosecurity program is chaired by the Governor's Office under the leadership of the Honorable Chief of Staff, Nafionga Le Fasina Yaloa Tuimavave Laupola. So first slide. Before I go on, I would like to respectfully ask our dear panelists, also member of the Biosecurity, American Samoa Biosecurity Leadership Team, to introduce yourself and your wonderful agencies that you are working with.
Hello, my name is Ian Gurr, and I work at the Community College in the Land Grant Program.
I'm Mark Schmadic, entomologist at the Land Grant Program.
Hi, sorry. My name is Vanitha Sivarajan. I work at the Department of the Interior, Office of Insular Affairs.
Tarufa Matuia, Department of Agriculture, Quarantine Division.
Eileen Solaita, Department of Health for Environmental Health Services Division.
Good afternoon, Selina Tumawave with the American Samoa Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources.
Malola Faftai, next slide. So here's our combined presentation. All of us, we have monthly meetings, and all the issues that we discuss are in this presentation for the purpose of a conference like this. So we define biosecurity as the action to prevent the arrival, establishment, and spread of invasive species in a country and among islands. The goal or the objective is to prevent the potential harm, understanding the risk, the pathway, and species risk, and managing the risk. Next slide. The invasion curve and biosecurity graph demonstrate American Samoa's biosecurity mission, which focus on prevention and 3 goals. So goal number 1, as you see in the circle, that is the whole main focus of the biosecurity, is prevention. So goal number 1 is to prevent the arrival of new invasive species. New invasive species such as brown tree snake, the mongoose, as you have heard, arriving in a pier, and thank God I talked to our friends from a pier. They tackled the mongoose, and now there's no mongoose walking around in a pier. That's why I'm so happy. Invasive species like coqui frogs are totally absent from American Samoa. Second, prevent the establishment of new invasive species and eradicate small populations detected in American Samoa if possible. Third, prevent the spread, contain the increased abundance, and limit the spread of newly detected invasive species in American Samoa. Next slide. Strengthening inter-island biosecurity, especially to protect our Motusa, the sacred island of Manu'a, is critical to the protection of everything Samoan or everything Manu'a on our islands. It is important to eradicate and control invasive species on the main island of Tutuila, so that these aggressive non-native species do not spread to our Manu'a Islands, the Rose Atoll, Aunu'u, and Swains Island. Next slide. Oh, by the way, those are the photos. Go back one more time. These are the example of birds that are extinct or gone forever. The Maui Hawaiian honey creeper, and the bottom are the ma'o. Used to found here is no existing record at this time. They disappeared from American Samoa. And the pe'ape'awai, anyone from Mafono? So that is the last place where they seen record or sighting of the pe'ape'awai from Mafono. Next slide. The Honorable Governor Manu'a established the American Samoa Biosecurity Leadership Team in March of 2023. So this photo shows the first biosecurity meeting in the governor's conference room with Manita from OIA and other scientists and high officials from the USDA APHIS. They were all on this call, to officially establish the biosecurity program. There were also folks from the USDA Forest Service who donate $100,000 to start the work on reviewing the biosecurity framework. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the U.S. Geological Survey was there, and as well as the folks from NOAA, the Marine Sanctuary. So the project of writing the first biosecurity plan for American Samoa started in June 24, which will include a terrestrial, marine, policy, and education component. Next slide. So here are the challenges and opportunities. These are the challenges, but we see them as opportunity. Pachele used to tell me, Pachele Pio, Afo used to tell me, you have to find a problem in order to create a miracle. So these are like our potential miracle. So lack of territorial biosecurity framework and biosecurity action plan, lack of well-constructed biosecurity legislation to direct and guide biosecurity operation, lack of funding to obtain up-to-date biosecurity technologies, things like drones, equipment, advanced digital science, GIS map, and resources. Lack of professional biosecurity development, capacity building, community outreach, and awareness. So I want to, there's several biosecurity education at this time. We are working on developing them. One is including creating a biosecurity science curriculum for school, and the other is to create a biosecurity Associate of Science degree at the American Samoa Community College. We are at the very early stage of developing those education projects. Anyway, so next slide. So here are the topics we would like to learn from the other island jurisdiction or regional federal agencies representatives that are here. We want what aquatic biosecurity policies that are currently in place to manage movement of aquatic animals in the region. We want to know what remediation measures that are in place in other jurisdictions for discharge ballast water containing invasive species. We also want to know what are some case studies and practical examples from other regional ports with regards to detecting and humanely dispatching invasive species introduced at our port of entry. We also want to learn, I know the SPC folks are here, about coconut rhinoceros beetle methodologies and control measures in the region. We also want to learn from existing biosecurity legislation in the region so that we can improve the one we have or help design effective new ones. So why is biosecurity? Next slide. Next slide. So why biosecurity? The Pacific Invasive Learning Network at SPREP stated that invasive species are the primary cause or reason of biosecurity loss in the Pacific Islands. They have a significant impact on the resilience of ecosystem, resulting in a decline in ecosystem service production and diminished capacity to adapt to climate change. Next slide. So everything is at risk in American Samoa because of the increasing number of introduced and destructive invasive species. Tourism is at risk if we do not control the little fire ant. Like Dr. Mark said, tourists will not go visit the beach, or farmers will be affected because there is LFA on the banana leaves that could fall on their back. The dogs and the cats, if the LFA impacted or sting, it will cause them to blind, and there is no cure for that. So if you love Poppy and Pinko and Blackie, we have to work on the LFA. So and as well as watershed, native wildlife, horticulture, agriculture, and our Samoa is at risk. Last slide. So it's a photo of our Governor Manu'a emphasized that the American Samoa, during a meeting with OIA, must collaborate on a regional scale with neighboring Pacific islands, countries, and territories because we all share the same sea and air routes that support our livelihood, well-being, food security, biodiversity, sustainable livelihood, indigenous knowledge, and cultural resources. Therefore, an effective biosecurity system is necessary for mitigating this risk and protecting our Samoan natural and cultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tavi. I understand, and we have a panel up here, and we'd love to hear from each and every one of our members. And I give this opportunity to Deputy Director Salaina Tuimavave for your remarks or your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lisa. The Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources, their main concern at this time, you've heard earlier, Director Soliai had mentioned about the thriving and the most successful coral reef ecosystems there are in American Samoa. We'd like that to stay that way. And one of the focuses of us ensuring that ecosystem remains the way it is now is being a participant in the biosecurity efforts. At the moment, the territory does not have a marine biosecurity plan nor a framework. Being a part of this group enables the Marine and Wildlife Resources and partners, as seated on the table, the opportunity to collect information from other partners, from other jurisdictions on what is happening, how are they addressing their issues that's biosecurity related. The department has efforts to ramp up its conservation management options with communities to restock the reefs. So when I say restock reefs, we would like to bring in live animals from other jurisdictions, for example, giant clams. One of the things that we would like to avoid is once giant clams or any other live animals are being transported into the territory, we want to make sure that number one, it's free of disease, and number two, it's free of hitchhikers. Because there are studies and there are also events in the region and in the world that documents this is the number one reason why populations are decimated. You've heard earlier about extinction. Extinction is forever. So we want to make sure that one, the populations that we do have are at a rate that's sustainable, and that live animals that we do decide to bring in after the performance of a feasibility study, we're bringing them in safely. We have a mechanism that can quarantine these animals. We can monitor these animals to make sure that before we release them out into the reefs, they're free of anything that can be contaminating the ecosystem and also the populations that are already thriving in the oceans at this point. As you all know, climate change is a really big issue at the moment on a global scale. There are evidence in other warm tropical regions such as Florida and the Caribbean where coral diseases have completely decimated coral reefs out there. Coral reefs has a very high economic price tag. That's what we want to avoid. So in order for us to do that, we are in need of trying to collect information as much as possible in order to make sure that what we develop is not only customized to our needs here in the territory, but it's also adaptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is our DOH representative, Eileen.
Talofa, everyone. On behalf of our director, Mutsusa Tuile Manu'a, just want to say thank you for the opportunity. You may ask, what does the Department of Health have to do with biosecurity? Well, the Department of Health plays a big role, a role that is not much liked by a lot of our local agency as well, because we do challenge our own partners as well when it comes to safety of food, being imported into the territory, and also the wholesomeness of food being sold in the territory. As we all know, when there's a disaster, the territory is prone to outbreaks, from vector mosquito-borne diseases to foodborne, waterborne, and also fish poisoning. So when a disaster hits the territory, there's a lot of environmental factors that get affected, and then it contributes to contamination and the effects of the food that we consume as consumers and also our families in the territory. So where the Department of Health comes from and our stand in biosecurity is making sure that the food being brought into the territory, being sold in our local store, we are so adamant to making sure that it's wholesome and safe for the public's consumption. We're very adamant when it comes to sanitation, control, and food safety practices in our local businesses. And like I said, what I wanted to share, sometimes people don't understand, when we do shut down a business, it's because of unsanitary practices or poor food safety practices being practiced in food handling, food storage, holding temperatures, and a lot of factors that affect safe food handling in the territory. So when you do see those signs, my biggest challenge, which I'm going to share, and I don't want anybody to get offended, is the actual closure of a business for unsanitary conditions, and I do get a call from a higher authority asking why this business is shut down. For your information, if you are the person that would be in a situation where you see the practices that are being done in the territory, you ask yourself, would you want your family to consume those kind of food being prepared in unsanitary way? I would ask that question, and if they say no, then that's my answer why we close and shut down a lot of businesses in the territory. So what we ask, and the best practices is we ask a lot of our community businesses, I know it's their livelihood, but they need to comply with whatever recommendations that we have shared, taught, shared with a lot of businesses in the territory, and especially we have a lot of food caterings now being conducted in home-based businesses. In the US, home-based cooking is not accepted, except for American Samoa. We allow home cooking here in the island, and it's because we don't have enough structures to build businesses for each individual. So, but our side, we encourage, even though you're preparing food from your home, that you still need to comply with food safety practices that other local businesses are also following. So that is why public health plays a very important role. Again, we involve ourselves with vector-borne diseases. We just had if you guys are not aware of, just want to share that Samoa had a dengue outbreak since April 19, 2024. As of today, American Samoa has not declared or has not received a positive dengue case for the very reason strong collaboration between Department of Health, American Samoa land grant, Dr. Schmidt has been very adamant in pushing environmental health. We did school spraying, we did monitoring of solid waste and accumulation out in the schools, in the public. EPA plays a big part as well. ASPA helping us when there's conditions we need accumulation of solid waste to be removed. All the partners that has been working very collaborative, and as of today, and we're just crossing our finger, praying that there is no dengue outbreak in the territory. And that's because of the collaboration. We do have the resources, like Director Lisa said, there's SOPs, there's policy. We just need to get there and do the job. It's out there. We just need to work together and make things accomplished. Thank you.
Aloha again, Manu'a, Department of Agriculture, Plants and Animal Services, is to prevent the introduction, establishment, and spread of animal and zoonotic as well as pests of plants, including their brother, entering into our territory. Areas of service and approach for PAQs. Main office to procure import and export documentation, issuing import permits, export phytosanitary certificates, steam cleaning phytosanitary, and also meat certificate. Border, we work at the airport and seaport, clearing of incoming flights, clearing of incoming vessels side by side with the clearance party or the clearance AINGA with the AS Custom, DMWR enforcement, EPA enforcement, public health, and also some of our partners are working together with the federal partners with the USDA APHIS and also USDA FSIS, and also a local agency, and especially just like Eileen quoted, just lend a big tie to Director of FAI, the ASCC land grant, and also Dr. Schmelik for using the lab to ID all of our stuff, at best that we are intercepted from the seaport and airport. Just like Director Tautasi stated, Mamasi avenga pe a tātou ngā lulue whātasi, whātai Director Lisa, whātai Morenea no tāua, ia paanga uma wa mwhaiona langoina le nei wha moe moe, ia le ngata I lea awa taitai, ia le sunga ia tawi, ia mātou a inga atoa le Biosecurity Leadership Team, whātai.
Thank you. So I wanted to give my perspective just as from DOI as the funder for this effort. And I also just wanted to mention the importance of how this partnership and collaboration started. So back in 2022, there was the Pacific Environmental Security Conference that was held for the first time, sponsored by SPREP and SPC in Palau. And out of that conference was the recommendation that, well, first I will say there were over 20 countries represented at that conference, and including American Samoa. So the Office of Insular Affairs supported our territories and freely associated states to attend that conference. And it was really lucky that we were there. I think one of the biggest outcomes was that biosecurity on a regional scale was really critical, and that it's important for islands not to be focusing on individual actions, but to be also collaborating with each other. Because as you know, we're all connected by, by trade routes and such. So with that recommendation, I was talking to Tavita at the time about the bill funding that we received, and he thought it would be a good idea to get all the departments together to form a leadership team. And that's what kind of began everything. And it's only been 2 years, and so I think it's a real shout out to all the departments that are here, and to Tavi, and to Chief Loa and Director Lisa, who's really been supporting this group. So I think that OIA has been providing funding and support. There's been other federal agencies as well. So like Tavi said, the Forest Service kicked in the first $100,000 to establish a biosecurity framework. And OIA is helping to fund the biosecurity plan for American Samoa. And I think other, the biosecurity trainings also are a big form of our support. So as I mentioned before, we all came together in Guam a few months ago, American Samoa and the other 3 territories, and the freely associated states, as well as Kiribati. And so next we are hoping to take all of those discussions on a regional scale and bring it to American Samoa, very specific high priorities here for the territory. So we're focusing on an on-island training in March 2025. And my role at OIA is I'm just coordinating across the federal government. So I've been talking to scientists at USGS and Fish and Wildlife Service. There's also interest from the Department of Homeland Security to join the training, as well as EPA, USDA APHIS is a big one. They were a really strong collaborator for our regional training in Guam. So the Hawaii team came out and did a lot of trainings for the the pre-border track that we had. So I will continue working across the federal government and with other partners such as Island Conservation, who is very interested also in participating, as well as some of our friends in Guam from the University of Guam and from the Guam Department of Agriculture that have also expressed an interest in being trainers. And what else? And then we're also planning on doing another regional biosecurity training next year, probably around the October timeframe in Hawaii. So we're also working on that. And I think that's it. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I'll just say a few words about ASCC Land Grant's role here, but I think we're kind of seeing a common theme from all of the speakers that collaboration, when collaboration happens, success happens, right? So that's so important, and it's consistent with the theme, our community, our responsibility. So at ASCC Land Grant, we have several roles in the area of biosecurity. As an educational institution, we have classroom education, areas of natural resources, and other related areas. And then, as mentioned earlier by our director and extension staff, we also have non-formal education. Education is so critical in biosecurity. It's essential that we develop a higher level of understanding among the community, the importance and things we need to do to maintain biosecurity here in American Samoa. More specific services that we have available, we have a plant clinic service, so anybody who has problems with their plants, diseases, or pests is welcome to come into the lab. We can do a diagnosis, we can do an identification, provide a recommendation. This is one way that we're able to detect new pests that people encounter on their farms or in their gardens. We have our forestry program, which does a lot of work on invasive plants control, also education in the schools. We have our staff out in the schools. Every week we have schools coming to our land grant compound on field trips every week, sharing our experiences and our knowledge. We previously mentioned all the work that we've been doing on this critical issue of little fire ants. That's been a 5-year ongoing major effort on the part of our lab. Also, we do work on mosquito biology and control. Of course, we have important mosquito-borne diseases that are a threat here, and it's important for us to develop understanding of mosquito biology here in this local context. What is the case in Hawaii, or what is the case in California or other places doesn't necessarily apply here. It's important for us to learn in this context. And then, of course, providing technical support to our sister agencies throughout ASG. We have nice labs over at ASCC Land Grant. These labs are a resource for the community. They don't belong to me, they don't belong to ASCC, they are a resource for the community. So we utilize those labs to help address the needs in vector, in biosecurity, and other areas that are related. The other important aspect on biosecurity is food security. So we have our horticulture researcher here, Dr. Ian Gurr, who can mention a few things about the research that we're doing in the area of food security.
Thank you. In the area of food security, we are addressing some of the traditional crops that we have by breeding new taro cultivars that are resistant to taro leaf blight disease. And we're doing evaluation to see if they also have salt tolerance for the Manu'a and the other areas which are grown in wetlands, which are having problems with salinity presently. We also do work on evaluating new vegetable crops and varieties that are ideal for our conditions here in American Samoa, to identify these crops and the varieties that grow well here with minimal pesticide use and inputs to improve our food security. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists. We'll go ahead and open it up for a couple questions. All right. Okay. We've got one in the back.
Thank you for the time. Just want to commend you guys up there for all the hard work you do. I have a question and more of a second thing is a comment. The first thing for my question is, maybe this is for you, Tavita, with the group. We see that we're all here collaborating in the different groups. I think it'd be nice to get a overall number or a ballpark number of how many people from each, put everybody combined, are working on the dealing with biosecurity in American Samoa. To give a number to all of our distinguished guests and people who work day in and day out, because it's probably less than 50, 60, up to you, but just to show how much work is going in. And I know some of these people are responsible for funding things, so we see the issues and things like that, but I think it's good on that level. And my comment is, looking at our theme, it's our community and our responsibility. And it's great that the government has come together in this effort to deal with biosecurity. It's an ongoing thing, but it would be nice, I'm pretty sure down the line, looking at a community, not one piece of the puzzle does it make the whole community. Be nice if more outside groups are hopefully roped in to help you guys out, because the reason why I mentioned the question about the number is that is the load that these people are expected to carry, but for the whole territory. So we know that strength in numbers, and eventually down the line, I'm pretty sure that's on the table to have community groups. We like to use that word, stakeholders. They're not people holding the steak to eat, but they got a piece of the pie and they're part of it. So I know that's probably down the line, but that's a great job, guys, and keep going. Thank you.
Just. The answer to your first question about the number of people, the correct answer is everyone, everybody. So the second question, I think the answer is the same. We believe that during our meeting with the Office of Samoan Affairs, Paramount Chief Manu'a, we met with the Secretary of Office of Samoan Affairs and talk about this. And we realize that the most important and the most effective biosecurity action happens in the village, because everybody knows what's coming in and what's going out, even new people that are coming in. So the program is new, and we're looking at funding to help support the Office of Samoan Affairs and working with the teachers. We took a lot of teachers during the weekend to visit project site, but we're planning to increase our outreach. EPA Liu Rafael is not here, but he's one of the very effective educators when we talk about biosecurity issues with the community. So it's pretty much everybody, like the theme of today. It's a shared responsibility. It's everybody. We need to all work together to protect our island. So the only natural resources and Measina that we have. And just to add on that, SPREP was here a week ago. And again, they emphasize that American Samoa rainforest is in good shape. But, compared to other Pacific islands that are overrun by African snail, minor bird, invasive trees, you name it. But because of existing programs at the American Samoa government and the leadership from the top, it helps all of us to move forward with new project to further protect our island and our home. So my last comment is the other important thing that we find out when we talk to teachers is that we have to involve a lot of the young student, especially the elementary level and the high school, because if you want to change, effective change in the future, you have to start from the young folks, from the young students in elementary and high school. You know, the older generator, remember the older generator is already thinking about different things, but we've got to focus on the young generator, generation, because these are the folks who are learning and they know what's happening in the community. So, thank you.
We've got one last question.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to give glory and honor to God. My name is Monica Fallo. I represent American veterans. I actually landed 2 days ago from Samoa. So my job here is representing our American veterans around the world. It's a charter that's regulated by Congress, and we landed to open up American Veterans Office here in American Samoa and also in Samoa and develop jobs. But I noticed they were having a summit, so I came yesterday, and it said, our community, our responsibility. So I want to first thank the panel. You've all did such an excellent job. It takes a lot of work and a lot of hard effort and travel and commitment, sweat and tears. Thank you for loving our countries of American Samoa and Samoa. And I'm of Samoan descent as well, so I thank God for bringing me back here. So I just wanted to say that I believe God sent me here to tell you that our American forces are here to stand by to help with some projects. I know the Navy's really good with their plans and all the armed forces, so you know they protect our country. And I'm available if there's anything you need, how we can come in and help our country. And I just want to thank you. Monica Fallo with American Veterans, thank you.
Thank you so much for your service. We appreciate. I just want to add one thing, that we include in the proposed funding for the upcoming first American Samoa on-island biosecurity training in next year, March. Okay, we include funding to bring the authorities, the key leaders from the other side of the Kuwait, from APIA, from CEO from MNRE and the Ministry of Agriculture and SROSH. We're doing research on biosecurity, so we can protect them. So we do not want to share the little fire ant with APIA, and so that we establish prevention measures to prevent our borders and prevent our islands. But we need to work together with the conservation and Ministry of Agriculture in APIA through our two Samoa meeting to protect our economy, our agriculture, and our environment, and our natural heritage.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you, panelists, for accepting our invitation. Biosecurity is critical in our community's resilience, and thank you for sharing and keeping us informed. Thank you for all your hard work. Up next, we have Ms. Lauren Long, who is an environmental scientist from the Pacific Learning Services Coordinator from NOAA.
Well, talofa, aloha, thank you all so much for having me. And thank you, Director Lisa and Sandy, for inviting me to come speak. Like Sandy said, I'm Lauren Long. I work for NOAA's Office for Coastal Management. I'm located in our Honolulu, Hawaii office, and I'm our Pacific Learning Services Coordinator. So my role is basically to work with all of our Pacific partners in Hawaii and the territories to connect you all with NOAA's learning resources and to bring needs that we hear back to our national office and regional offices as we think about new training and product development and delivery. So thank you all so much. It's been really great to learn with everyone for the last couple of days, so I really appreciate being here. I also work on our national nature-based solutions portfolio for our office too, so that's another role that I play. And so for my presentation today, I'm going to be focusing on kind of some NOAA resources for community resilience planning and kind of thinking about the planning components that go into that. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to give a very brief background of our office and then share some resources with you to help visualize and communicate coastal hazard impacts in your communities in American Samoa, and then also some learning resources to help think about solutions to those impacts. Next slide, thanks. So our office administers 4 major programs: the National Coastal Zone Management Program, the National Estuarine Research Reserve Program, the Coral Reef Conservation Program, and the Digital Coast. And I have my colleague here with me, Toipo Stowers. Oh, she's back there. There she is. So she is our boots on the ground when it comes to the Coastal Zone Management Program and the Coral Reef Conservation Program. So she is our liaison between our national and regional offices and then the folks here working in American Samoa within those programs. So she could answer any questions you have around those. I work mostly on our Digital Coast because I'm in our learning program. All of the resources that we develop, we house on our Digital Coast. It's basically our website. It's where we put our data, tools, and trainings. So I'm going to be sharing some resources from that website today. All right, next slide, please. So I'm going to be diving into some resources in the tools section and the training section of the Digital Coast. And again, kind of focusing on the niche of our organization, which is really we're striving to help coastal communities reduce the impacts from coastal storms and climate change using natural or hybrid solutions and indigenous practices that have been around in our island communities for generations. So I'm going to be sharing some resources from these two sections. I did want to point out the topics section that you can see on the side, a couple of buttons down. That's a good place to go if you have specific topics, or coastal management topics you're wanting to get more information on. Going there would help you find those resources a bit better. The Digital Coast is big and there's a lot of stuff on there, so it kind of collapses resources under different topics. So I'll show you that a little bit later. Next slide, please. Okay, so now that I've done a very quick drive-by of our office, I'm gonna show some resources again around visualizing and communicating coastal flood hazards and learning resources around nature-based solutions. Next slide, please. So this is our coastal flood exposure mapper, and this tool was designed really as an engagement tool. It doesn't require any mapping expertise or geographic information system expertise. It was really designed to engage communities around conversations about coastal hazard risks and how they can reduce those impacts. So this tool was designed to be just screening level and to show where people, places, and natural resources are exposed to coastal flood hazards in your communities. Next slide, please. So when you get in, it looks like this, which doesn't really tell you, oh, American Samoa is located on this map, or in this tool, but it is. So if you search in the search bar for American Samoa, next slide. Thanks. You can zoom in to Tutuila, and into the other islands as well. And the lower left-hand corner, you can see little map layers. That's where you can open up the different layers. If you go to the next slide, please. Thanks. You can kind of scroll through and see all the different layers you can turn on and off. So again, this is meant to be super easy, just turn on and off radio buttons, where you can look at different flood hazards, and you can overlay those on characteristics of your community and look at where people, places, and again, natural resources are exposed to flooding. So you'll see that the hazard layers that are included are high tide flooding, FEMA flood zones, storm surge, tsunami zones, sea level rise, and then you can overlay those on different maps, such as elderly populations that we talked a little bit about yesterday, critical facilities like your schools and your hospitals and your medical facilities, as well as different ecosystems and natural land cover that are, of course, going to provide a lot of resilience and benefits to the community during flooding events. So I zoomed in here to the Pongo Pongo Airport area, and I just turned on our natural protection layer. So this, oh, okay, yeah, thanks. So this is showing development in the dark gray, wetlands in the dark green, other natural areas and open space in the light green. And then if I overlay on top of that FEMA flood zones, next slide, please. You can see where those areas are impacted, where we have natural areas of hopefully absorbing floodwaters and protecting some of our built infrastructure. And the land cover data in this map is from our Coastal Change Analysis Program land cover data, if any of you have heard of that. This is 30-meter data, and we are updating it to be 1-meter data by the end of the calendar year. So 30-meter to 1 meter is a huge difference in resolution. So it'll be really hopefully helpful data for folks to use. But again, these are just a few different classes from that land cover. But here we're looking at where FEMA flood zones, of course, overlay into those natural areas and providing some protection and are obviously critical to conserve and protect. You can also save any of the maps that you create. So again, the idea behind this is collaboration and engagement. So you can create a bunch of maps, save them, send them to your colleagues and your friends. You can put them in reports or presentations. I like to, in the past when we've done big community events, we print them on huge sheets, put them up around the room and give people markers, and that's where they just go around and have conversations about what their concerns are and able to just have conversations because they have a visual to look at. So that's really the basis of developing this tool. So I just showed a couple of examples. There's a lot more in here. So please don't hesitate to ask for a demo. I'm happy to go through the whole tool and show more functions anytime. Next slide, please. All right, so now I'm going to move into some learning resources to help think about solutions to some of those hazard impacts. Next slide, please. So we have several nature-based solutions trainings. All of our trainings provide professional development credits if that's something of interest to you. This training is an online module, so it's self-guided. You can do it at your own pace, on your own time. It takes about an hour to walk through, and you can just access it at that URL. Next slide, please. And it basically walks you through, again, just the basics of nature-based solutions. So it walks you through a framework of thinking about your coastal hazard impacts, benefits from nature that can help reduce those impacts, and then thinking about green or natural infrastructure that can best provide those services. So just kind of a thought process to get folks started. Next slide, please. And this is an example from the module, just looking at mitigating stormwater runoff, using water infiltration as your benefit from nature that you're trying to recreate by installing bioretention. So it just kind of provides a couple of examples of what that kind of framework would look like. Next slide, please. And then we also go into practices and teach just a little bit about those different practices and some of the benefits they provide. Next slide, please. And then you're also prompted to download a worksheet where you can jot down your own ideas. So again, not everything is going to be in this module. There are practices that have been around for generations in our island communities that may not be in here, but they should be on your worksheet because it's something, the worksheet's about your ideas and what you are concerned about and what you'd like to see in your communities. So that's included in the module too. Next slide. So that's just a quick drive-by of that. There's quite a bit more in the module, but it is a requirement for our live training. So we have 2 live trainings around nature-based solutions, One is a 2-hour webinar. And so it's pretty brief, but you interact with NOAA trainers, you interact with each other, and you interact with experts from the Pacific region who have done projects around nature-based solutions. So it's just an opportunity to ask questions of each other, talk about your challenges, and come up with solutions, and just learn about projects. So that's one of our training opportunities. Next slide, please. The other one is an 8-hour in-person course. It's a workshop. So really, everyone's rolling up their sleeves and they're talking about projects they want to see on the ground in their communities. And they're talking about the design and the maintenance and the cost and who they're going to partner with and how they're going to fund it and challenges they might be having when it comes to implementation. So this is a longer course, but it's super fun and fun to have people working around tables creating strategies. And so at the end of the day, everyone presents their project ideas and gives each other feedback. And these, we did this training last September here in American Samoa. It was hosted by the Coastal Zone Management Program. And these are some of the posters of ideas that came out of that training. Next slide. And then I also wanted to show the crew. So some of you are in the room here today, so I hope you don't mind that I was sharing your photos. But it was a super fun day, and we actually did 2 days of training. And we did a training on some social science training as well as this training. So we had a great time together brainstorming and learning from each other and learning from other Pacific Island partners who are doing this work. And then when we're out and about at these trainings, we're always listening for needs that people have. And so and trying to see how we can meet those needs. So one need we hear a lot of is the need for information on the effectiveness of using these approaches in reducing coastal hazards. So we developed this database and it houses over 300 studies on the effectiveness of these different practices in reducing coastal hazards. So you can search by region and topic of interest and look at the key findings in the description of the study. Then you can access the whole thing if you want to read the whole article. So that's available on our website. Also, we, of course, know that 8 hours is not enough time during our trainings to really dive into specific issues. And so we're kind of cataloging the things that we hear. And so we've heard recently that folks just have other challenges, like working with their state transportation partners and implementing practices. Also thinking about training a local workforce and being able to implement these practices. So we're taking all of these ideas down, and we just started a new webinar series to help kind of dive into some of these challenges. We've done 2 webinars so far focused on those 2 challenges of working with transportation partners and training a local workforce to do these projects. The first webinar that we did on transportation partnerships is online as a recording if you weren't able to join us. And it's chunked up, so you don't have to watch an entire webinar, but you can look at individual presentations or you can read the transcripts and get access to all the resources that we provided during the webinar. And the second one that we did on training a local workforce and developing, it was really about developing training programs for local workforce development. So that will be on the same URL in a few weeks if you weren't able to join us for that one. But this is brand new, so if you have challenges and topics you would like to see in this webinar series, let me know. Or if you have something that you want to talk about or present, let me know. I'd love to have you as a guest on the webinar series. Next slide. And then we also do a similar webinar series around funding and financing because we hear that's a challenge. This is not about grant programs, it's about financing. So it's about innovative financing solutions to help build programs that can continue to fund nature-based solutions and other coastal resilience projects. So here's the list of topics that we've covered so far. We have an upcoming training on September 26th, focus on community-based public-private partnerships. So feel free to register using the QR code, or you can just come see me and I'll give you the registration link for that. But for all of these topics, we also record and put them on our digital coast, again, so you can access individual presentations and all the resources that we provide during those training events. Next slide. And then this is my last slide. Just wanted to reiterate that topics section I talked about earlier. That's where we, again, take all of our Digital Coast resources and organize them by specific topics. So if you're interested in resources around adaptation strategies or risk communication or economics or coastal inundation, things like that, we have a lot of different topics, and you can see all of our key resources around those topics. So it's just another way to organize a really large website. And there's a QR code for that too. So I just touched really on two kind of topical areas, but we do a lot of training around even just learning how to facilitate meetings, learning how to engage communities, doing project planning. So we do a lot of other trainings too. So please reach out if you want to chat more. I've been in my current position for about 2 years, but with the office for 16. But so this is still like kind of a new role for me. And so I'm looking to work more with folks and see how I can support you all in the coastal resilience work you're doing here in American Samoa. So Fa'afatai, thank you so much for having me. And here's our contact information if you want to reach out. So thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I just wanted to remind everybody that all of our slides and our presentations will be available on our website and our Facebook. So if ever you need to access the information, it is online for your viewing. Right now, I would like to introduce Mrs. Tialavea Molly Asifua Langai. She is the Extension Program Coordinator, 4-H Program Manager from ASCC. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. I think we've been sitting too long. I think everybody needs to get up. DJ, can you play some music so everybody can do some stretching? Do your best stretching, pula o little stretch. But we need to stretch and move a little bit.
Wa feel lolo. Okay, le manga o am we say si alela final presentation. Ya fatalofa atu. So fola lele ne tula le oli. Good afternoon, everyone. Us as an extension, when we do presentation or outreach, we want to make people feel comfortable and wake up and make sure you don't fall asleep when I do my presentation. But I want a big hand for everybody for sitting and listening and learning today. Today I stand before you on behalf of the ASCC President, Dr. Rosewan Pato, and our ACNR Director, Mr. Afai Bulu Ropeti Areta. I will be presenting on the extension programs. Because I didn't send my bio in, so sorry, Lisa, so I thought I'd share this with everybody so you would know I have some sort of qualification to be standing up here. Our division is called Agriculture, Community, and Natural Resources Division. We've already met some of our managers, some of our specialists, and some of our researchers today. It's very important to share our mission, and our mission is, while honoring the Fa Samoa, very important. All the work we do, we have to remember we are from American Samoa, and our culture is very important in everything we do. And we are a diverse community, and we have 3 different programs. The research, you met Dr. Schmedic. Our instruction, which is Dr. Fasavalu, and then myself, who is the coordinator for the extension programs. In every land-grant institution, you will see teaching, research, and extension. All institutions, they all have teaching and research. But when it comes to land-grant institution, there's extension, and that's us, Yaumakonga. And all of these were, they are the law. They were created because of the history of serving the communities in rural areas. If you see how the arrows are running, our funds are from the federal grants, and they go through the college, and then we, the college, the extension, we do the work for the local community and the local government. And there we get the data, we send the data back to the federal, and then our funding comes in. Sometimes, when there are issues that needs to be addressed, we go backwards. We go through the leadership at the college, and then the college at the federal level. And that's more like asking for more money. Our research pay, we provide our main goal is to take what's being taught in the college and take it to the community. If you're wondering why we have a lot of vehicles, our programs, this is why. Our goal is to take the education out into the community. You know why? Because not everybody can afford college. Not everybody has the time to come and take courses. So our purpose is to go out there in the community and provide the information. Whatever the professionals were sharing this morning, those are all the information we take out into the community. Because there's no use of having all this information and not give it out to the community. Changes cannot happen if people in the community do not know what's going on. Our work cannot happen if people do not know what's going on. So when I got the invitation to present, I was thinking about our roles as an extension service. We contribute to disaster resilience by providing education, fostering community collaboration, supporting preparedness and recovery efforts, and advocating for policies that enhance the abilities of communities to withstand and bounce back from disasters. We do our work based on these critical issues: agriculture, sustainability and food security, the ecosystem, family and community resilience, health and wellness, and youth development. This morning, our agriculture extension program manager have already did a presentation, so I'm just going to go through these slides very fast. But if you look at the data, this is what they did for 1 year. They conducted 122 farm visitation, 5 outreach for 572 participants, 34 vegetable gardens in schools and communities, 7 pesticide training, assist 71 farmers, pig farmers, 3 farm safety day for 280 plus students with distribution of vegetable seedlings, taro tops, and banana bunching. So if you're thinking of becoming a farmer in the near future, this is the place to go. Just don't bring a truck. We can only give you 5 taro tops. These are some of their activities, as already mentioned. These were all mentioned in the morning by our agricultural manager. If you look at the pictures, when we go to schools, we only have about 7 staff.
but we have to accommodate up to 100 students almost all the time. And we cannot say no. It's part of us, and we try to accommodate everybody to the best of our knowledge. And I know Kelly Terragino, she also presented this morning about the SIAA, and this is some of their data. So our second program is the Forestry Extension Program that was mentioned by Dr. Schmedik earlier. The first one, we have this Forest Stewardship Program. They deal with landowners, management, forest management, greenhouse management, and all that. This is where the BIL grant is being used. Some of the BIL grant is being used for put up 3 greenhouses, one on the east side, one on the west side, and we're planning to put one in Fitiuta, Manu'a. So if you around that area and you need you're in the mode to plant trees, that's where you go. You don't need to come all the way to the college. So this one is in Amanave, this greenhouse. Our next program is Forest Health. It was also mentioned during the biodiversity involves with invasive species. So their BIL project, they've hired 16 interns. As you can see on the pictures, every Saturday, interns will come in and they will go out in the staff. If you look at the pictures, there's one in Asu and then one at Nuuli. This is the Fue Lautele, Pagong Pailungo Maunga, Le Malosio Le Fue A. So the Fue Lautele has not been confirmed as an invasive. So biocontrol has not been used. It cannot be used unless the researchers have confirmed that this is an invasive. So they're doing the old method, cutting and burning. It's a very hard work, but it needs to be done because as you can see on the mountain, it's actually killing the trees and the forest. So the picture on the corner, that is a partnership with the National Park. That was in Pango. You might not see it, but the invasive trees and shrubs are everywhere. That's why education is very important because some people don't understand that they are invasive. We even have families of Fayaku se kape, FMAI, familiai, and that's our purpose, is taking that knowledge outside to the community. Then we have the urban community program. So we also have additional IRA funding for this. We have 4 nonprofit organizations with projects that deals with trail restoration, coastal beautification and tree planting, art and culture, connecting it to the environment, and then urban forestry. And this is the data. As you see, the numbers, they're big, and they're real numbers. These are real numbers. We actually do the work. And this is what we send to the grantors, and that's how we get funding every year. We do the work, bring the data in, and send it to the grantors. Our next program is the Family and Consumer Science. This program is very important when it comes to disaster resilience. Food safety, they teach how to store food properly, how to use food resources efficiently, how to avoid foodborne illnesses, access to clean water, nutrition, that's food security. This is promoting home gardening, food preservation, and other practices that help families maintain access to nutritious food during and after disasters. Again, those are the data, those are the numbers, those are real numbers. Those are the ones we sent to the grantors at the national level so we can get our funding every year. These are some of the pictures of the work that the staff do out in the community.
This is our health and wellness center. Sometimes we don't have enough space to accommodate the tours. We don't even have enough day of the week to try to accommodate tourists who wants to come in. But again, this is all about education. 4-H, a national program. This is all about empowering youth with skills to lead. I'm up here right now, not for me. No, this is for the future. I'm not saying I'm old. I'm just saying the work we do is for the young ones. And that's our pledge right there. If you read it, it's all for your club, for your community, for your country, and for the whole world. Wa mea kupu Samoa e kupu foi I, ere wheka konga whaapea, ere a kupu Samoa po konga ere kupu I. We all witnessed that in the COVID. If it happens out there in the world, eventually it will come here to American Samoa. So, empowering youth, we empower them because they should have the knowledge, skills, and leadership ability to contribute to the community before, during, and after a disaster. It's never too late to educate the young ones. Never too late. Or pick up la pisi makongi, that's education right there. It might not be for you like Makua, but it's a big learning lesson for a young one. 4-H is grounded in the belief that kids learn best by doing. Ako ai mera lo kele ave kami ke ka ala la pisi ya nga or kuma mai ka ua. Ai loa ka ala la pisi fale e ke lo foi ka ala pisi wherever you go, and know the value of doing that. These are some of the 4-H clubs. We have one main challenge. That's why you see supplies funding. We cannot build infrastructure. And aki kilo ako mako buildings. Building. That is our main challenge. We are trying to find funding for a new building. The numbers have grown throughout the years, and yet the building stays the same. That's like almost 40 years old. So if you have free money that you're not using, or you know some way we can get funding, please let me know. And if you need more information, you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and we even have a website. And if you need any programs for your village, for your church youth, that's the way to go. If not, you can call my director. He's right there. And that's about it. I think I made my time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lisa, for having me here. And hopefully next time you'll choose somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Great presentation. We love to see all the community outreach. All our grantors, we need more community outreach funding. Molly needs a new building to house her kids in, but we love to see programs like that because it nurtures them to be a better member of the community. Right now, I would like to ask on Mrs. Fesolai Molly. As she makes her way up here, Fesolai Molly Manatu Nielsen is the Assistant Chief Executive Officer at the Disaster Management Office of the Samoan National Emergency Management Office under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. She doesn't want me to read the whole thing, so she's rushing up here.
Faksai tele Sandy. Malo le lava papale mamalu o tato maftanga nei. O topa ia ma to mamalu o le o yai. O no, topa ia mamalu e o le fa. Malo soifua Manu'a. Soifua laulele malelangi mama. Good afternoon everyone and greetings from the government of Samoa. Last year, the summit, we shared our Samoa's disaster risk management framework, where we take on a whole of country approach. We believe that everyone, and I mean everyone, has a role in disaster preparedness and disaster response. We have just got approval from the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for our Samoa Disaster Risk Management Policy 2024-2034. It's a 10-year policy. And we are yet to receive the Prime Minister's and the Cabinet's approval on our 10 years plan, 2024-2034, also our updated National Disaster Management Plan. The review of our Disaster and Emergency Management Act is in progress, and we are targeting December this year for that revise and amendment legislation. In addition to the many and various disaster resilience and disaster risk management activities that we implement to and for our people, we would like for this year's summit to share with you our community disaster and climate risk management program that we are currently implementing at the village-based level. Slide. My office, we operate as a division under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, and we are responsible for the national coordination and development and implementation of disaster risk management programs and activities in the country. So we coordinate and lead the implementation of the CDCRM program. It is a national program established by the government of Samoa to drive, facilitate, and guide the delivery and implementation of disaster risk management outreach and programs for all Samoan communities, considered as the national standard protocol. We work really close and work in collaboration with our local authorities and non-government organizations, our private sectors that have specific roles in disaster response as stipulated in our National Disaster Management Plan. So for this particular program, we have 3 key implementing agencies. We don't go out to the village. We don't go out to the community by ourselves. We take everyone with us. So for this particular program, we have IAs to support our office. And we have the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, which is ADRA, the Samoa Red Cross Society, the Samoa and Fire Emergency Services, and all the other response agencies that have mandated functions for disaster risk management. So the program is really a community-driven, with the intention that at the end of each program, the community or village maintains a sense of ownership, not only with regards to their response plan, but to the coordination role in response to any kind of disaster, as it will greatly promote collaboration with the government and improve overall national response to any kind or types of disaster. So that program, this community program takes on an inclusive approach as well, whereby all members of the community, including women, youth, and people with disabilities, are involved in conducting the above assessments and preparedness. Next slide. So the program is implemented by a toolkit, and the toolkit has 4 main objectives. First, we usually spend 4 to 6 days in one village to achieve the objectives over here. So objective 1 is we conduct risk assessments and pre-consultations with the village to identify vulnerability and hazard risk for each of the villages. And then we formulate a disaster plan for them, draft their response plan, identify their disaster response teams. So once we've done all that, then we train those village disaster teams. We train them. We teach them the basic skills of life. And then when we're done with all the trainings, then we simulate on their drafted plan. So once we've done that simulation, then we finalize that village response plan and take on the process of approval and endorsement at the national level. This is an example of a hazard map for a village. For my office and the National Emergency Operations Center, we have hazard maps for tsunami, flooding, inundation, sea level rise in the projection of 1 to 10 years, 1 to 50 years, and 1 to 100 years. And this is based on building exposed to our coastal area. After the tsunami in 2009, it gave birth to a lot of programs, a lot of improvements, a lot of strengthening of the policy level and the operational level, as well as the community level. We have done a tsunami hazard map zone for all of Samoa. That's the 2 maps there with the green. The progress of where we are with this community plan. Slide. Before I sit down, here's just some of the photos. We have 362 villages. Since the establishment of this program in 2013, we have completed 150 villages. And this is half of our villages. And I would like to share with you some of the photos of all the villages that we've conducted and implemented this program to. The skills, evacuation skills, first aid skills, project management skills, shelter management skills, early warning. How do they receive the warnings from the official agencies? This is the same concept, the same program we take out to our schools, our businesses, our media community. Before also I sit down, I would also like to share a video of one of the villages, one of the many videos of the simulation that we do to all our villages and our community.
Lapatainga tsunami, ngai no whanga maulunga.
O le sini au tua i o le lei wha moe moe. Taluaina mai o lo tatu tsunami o le lua kumareiva. Tinu lole mai anō tamu whaise initiative whapea. Moa foi nei sosoani mon matunu aua e te tonunga ia ele mo uma e fio anga ia nei ava no taua ia le au matunu wala no tatu ka mo mo ia fai le ia tatu o unga ina ia ma fai foi o tani ia tatu ia te mo mo tau ni fa mo mo ya le fu ta tu la ta ai vai tai mio swinga fo yo nga tau mi se fa la fa fo se e au mai le ia le ka ku e to sa mo ia tatu paanga ia te pe yo vai na fu mu o leo o tatu TNO tu longa pena ia me so tatu wa ai tau tu longa pena o ia fa tau o leo o le tatu no no le fa mo tatu pa e o mai ina im fa no mai se wala se tas e tau fa ki liva fa tasi po kala me le pa ma fa fa ga ba ya kuwa sai ele ngata tonu ai o lau mea e au na fai molo watali pe va ia kwa makpomia ia le ngata foi ia fa mo le aso ai ai ni fa la vla ku fa fo sei pe o sunani o fa o le musi fia o ma fia anga e tangata le nu ia le mea au na fai fa ta to komiti ho pe na ona mai ona vai ta to fio anga o tatu komiti au tu o komiti ale lo fito tonu mo tatu le infai pula tatu afi anga matai ti ngam te mai tai tausi a foto matausi o ila tole fa malu malu ista tu komiti e to e fesili umar tolu le tatu komiti au tu ia on tatu o melo le komiti salivave ia komiti le pe wa mai on fai o ngai susan mo tatu fui mu ma tatu TMO ma tatu Red Cross ia no melo ista tu komiti o ilo longa o la kura ia fito tonu ma te be mai ai tatu le mai so la tole mai fela assessments fa ma faile ilo ilongo po ani fale wa fia mtura nga pena pe vientanga to mo so ifua ia be se tato komiti o fale ptanga o tato komiti e fale ptanga o umalina o ola tu langa o la tu e ngafa malta tu fale ptanga po ko se shota le la afa pena na ke ki tsa ko ia i tato wa fioanga yo la tu le o le tapena ia be tu uma me ai o ta o moenga tu langa pena Eula ai ia le li wa mo tu le me ia me tau ia nga mo ai na la me wa e ka to nunga le man lo tifo ile o le tato malo fe na malo lo ia puia so fu malo lo ina ele na to so fu tino.
In 2009, the government recognized that the people are our first responders, hence the birth of this program. And for me, why do we do all this? Why do we do all this? Save lives. We can have so many priorities, but we only have one goal, and that goal is to save lives, save our people's lives. The lives of our community is indeed our responsibility. So ifua maia Manu'a.
Thank you, Molly. Great presentation. Our community, our responsibility. Thank you. Up next, we have Mr. Taulapapa William Sword. He is the Pacific Energy Country Manager and Civil Engineer.
Boy, time flies when you have fun. Yeah, watulo watole malo tato afia nei nei wa uli malo lava long sai malo lava le tu mau pe ino fo anga se fa longo fo I tala nei taimi o te watulo watu malo tato afia tu mfainga sa mo o man fa tulanga ina e mo nei taiao ya tulo watu te o tau talofa everyone. Thank you, Director Tuto'o, for giving me the opportunity to talk about today. My name is Taulapapa William Sword. I'm the country manager of our one tank farm and also the chief engineer. I'm former director of public works. I know my CV is not in your papers, so I'm just working that out to you guys. I'm also a professional engineer, registered in the States, so I've been involved with the tank farm for the last 35 years, building it and making sure that it is resilient and ready to perform its purpose for the security of supply for our territory. What I want to talk about today is about management of change, especially on the subject of security of supply. Last year in the summit, we talked about why security of supply is important. We know that fuel planning for fuels coming to American Samoa takes 3 to 4 months, letting the refinery know what we need and when we need it. Then the supply chain has to be coordinated, including crude planning for the refinery, making sure that the charter parties are there for the tankers that bring it here. We have a 60,000-ton tanker that comes in about once every, actually we have 2 suppliers, so there's 2 tankers that comes in once every 35 to 45 days. Making sure that we don't run out of fuel is all about management of change. Many of you have heard that term before, but it's important to reiterate that during this process of making sure that we order and get our supplies here when we need it. When we change a procedure, we do a management of change form and to ensure that all the stakeholders know who's responsible for what. Very important. When I go on leave, I have to sign a management of change to make sure that my subordinates take over my role, right? When there is a change in procedures on the tankers and whatnot, because even tankers mess up. We sometimes have chemical tankers that are converted to regular tankers, and then when they get here, the product is not what it's supposed to be. The flashpoint is out, you've got problems with it. So you have to take all of that into account when you do your management of change. One of the things I like to use as an example of that is US EPA when we had the what do you call it, the diesel emissions fluid for the trucks. When we get these trucks here in American Samoa, they're supposed to burn this up and clean out the engine blocks, but you got to go 40 miles an hour. Well, tell you what, we don't have that kind of speed on the island. So what happens is a lot of our trucks get stuck. So we have to bypass that. That's another example. Another example is tugboats. Tugboats are very important for our big tankers. When they come into our harbor, we only have 1. We need 2. And they got to be of adequate size. Has anyone done a management of a change to make sure if one of these come in at 20 to 25 mile per hour winds, are we able to berth it and discharge it? Last year alone, we had 5 instances where the tankers had to wait outside because we had heavy weather and we couldn't handle it with the tugboat that we had. So management of change is about risk analysis. And I know Molly talked about it earlier. It's all about risk analysis. So if you want to be ready for anything, You've got to make sure you do your homework and do a risk analysis. You got to ask questions, like for instance, how much of the wind is 100% guaranteed? You know, you got to watch out for wind power. You have alternate energy. That's supposed to be the mainstream and the backup. Everybody loves it, you know, wind, solar, all that. But I tell you what, if you don't have diesel power generators to take up the slack when there's no wind and when you have overcast skies, you're really up shit, I'm sorry, the creek, right? You know, our manufacturing plants depend on constant power, dependable power. You've got to have diesel, you've got to have energy all the time, and you've got to have it at the levels that you need it to have. ASPA did the right thing when they decided to have 100% diesel backup on their generators. We have a peak here of about 30 megawatts, right? So what happens is they have enough there. They've changed their engines, so they're quick start engines. You're going to have this windmills being up in the next 2 years, and solar power coming. And I know Gunn talked about it earlier, but I tell you what, you've got to have 100% backup on diesel, because the water pumps here, we have 98% of our water comes from deep wells. They require pumps to be working. They're electrical, run by electricity. If you don't have that working 100% of the time, you're going to run out with power. The canneries will have to stop production, and it becomes a health problem for our community. You know, if you don't have an MOC and you don't do a risk analysis, whether you have sufficient power to handle what you need, you will have problems. Look at California. You want 100% electrical cars. I mean, that's ridiculous. The power grid won't have it. They don't have enough power to generate, enough generators to generate enough power for electrical cars. So why do you look at that as a philosophy? Why do you look at that as an objective? Simply because you got to be realistic in how you plan ahead for your energy needs. You can't have a dream and just expect it to happen overnight, right? It's the same thing here for us on the islands. You got to be logical, admit there's a potential problem, and then you can formulate solutions. Fossil fuels, in my opinion, will always be needed for ships, trucks, and generators to ensure the wheels of industry be going. It's better than coal. You guys shouldn't rule out nuclear power. The new norm on artificial intelligence, AI, will require a lot more electrical power, a lot more electrical capacity, and we need to be open-minded about how to provide it. And I'm happy that ASPA is actually looking forward to that, because they'll have a lot of resource to draw from once their current projects get done. Last thought, when you complete your MOC and communicate it, and that's very important, after you get your stakeholders to sign off on it, that this is the change we're going to make, and you communicate it to them, remember what Peter Drucker, a renowned world economist, said. The most important thing about communication is hearing what isn't said. So even if you read these MOCs, you've got to read between the lines what's missing. Always question. Anyways, Faftai, I wish God's blessings on our off-island visitors and a safe journey home. Faftai.
Can we get another round of applause for Tolo? So I want to explain our relationship with Taula, William Sword. So the American Samoa Office of Disaster Assistance and Petroleum Management, that's the other side of our house. We provide oversight of the American Samoa government-owned petroleum terminal. And TOLA and the Pacific Energy Office, they are the terminal operators for all of the fuel terminals here in American Samoa, and have received a lot of praises and accolades from all of our partners in the Pacific region. And I would like to thank you again, Tola, for that great presentation. Please enjoy your dessert, and as Sandy comes up here and introduce our next speaker. Thank you.
Up next, we have a video message from Mr. Joel Reed from Manu'a Pacific Impact Company.
And talofa to all of our ladies and gentlemen that are tuned into this presentation. This is a great opportunity for all of us at Manu'a Pacific to have an opportunity to share about some of our experiences and some of the opportunities that we've had to help you plan, execute, and improve your energy solutions on your own islands. However, to start this off, I'd like to tell just a quick story. It was just a little over a year ago in Honolulu. We were in a meeting where I had an opportunity to hear the representatives from the American Samoa team talking to the Territorial Climate Infrastructure Workshop participants about some of the challenges that the American Samoa team had with a number of things, one of which was just something very simple, an FAA tower. After that specific incident, I grew not only to love the group on American Samoa, but to dedicate our team to doing everything we can to get a great renewable energy solution for American Samoa, as well as, if we can, throw in that FAA tower that they've been trying to get. So, Manu'a Pacific is a Hawaii Sustainable Business Corporation based in Kihei, Hawaii, on the island of Maui. Our Sustainable Business Corporation is the equivalent of a benefit corporation in the rest of the United States. We have a responsibility to serve the stakeholders for all of the work we do, as well as we serve our shareholders. In this specific opportunity, we find the challenges of helping American Samoa achieve their renewable energy objectives in the fastest manner possible, along with the great work of the Department of Energy and the American Samoa Power Authority, is not only a challenge, but it's a great opportunity for us to help people who will benefit the most from this kind of a solution. Now, today with our team, you'll hear a little bit of different vignettes of where Manu'a Pacific has contributed across the Pacific Islands. But most important is that we are there to help you achieve your goals in the most accelerated manner possible and the least expensive manner possible. Not to bring you the solution that we think is right, but to listen first, and then as a team, we move forward to achieve your objectives. So to kick it off, I'll go ahead and start with the first member of our team. Go right ahead.
Pakatulo watu, talofa, ko kuhingoa ko nailaskau halatuituia meitonga. Ko kulakanga ko Managing Director, International Project Origination for Manu'a Pacific. Our Pacific Ocean covers 30% of the Earth's surface, and we have about 2,500 islands, 400 of which are atolls. We have 15 independent island countries in the Pacific Ocean. The significance of the Pacific Ocean and its island nations to the world's survival is beyond imagination, something we've just started to grapple with in recent years. For myself, the opportunity to work for Manu'a Pacific was a blessing, and the decision was very easy. Manu'a Pacific's core values was fitting for myself as a Pacific Islander, and Manu'a Pacific's mission is pertinent for island nations. Doing things differently was a draw card for me. Developing renewable energy is not new to our Pacific Islands, but if we keep doing it the same way as we have done in the last 3 decades, we will reap the same result. Manu'a Pacific brings resilient solutions via partnership platform that may stay focused on the local people's welfare. So we have projects in Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomon, Papua New Guinea, and hopefully American Samoa. And in Tonga, we have a proposal for a 20 megawatt solar farm plus 20 megawatt hour BESS. So we're looking forward to have that project implemented soon. So I look forward to be with you as our partner, brothers and sisters in Pacific Islands, to accelerate your nation's renewable energy development. Malo Ofatu.
Malo Naila and Talofa, everyone. My name is Sierra Jakovics, and I am an energy policy and project manager here at Manu'a Pacific. I've been with us for almost 4 years now, and working off of what Naila Skau was just saying about the project we have proposed in Tonga, in addition to that, it's very important to us to ensure that projects not only get built, but are resilient and maintained in the long run. And in many cases, we've seen projects that once they break, there's no one there to fix it. Lots of young people leaving countries for other places, for jobs. And for this reason, we aim to provide workforce training in every single project that we do. So in Tonga especially, we have incubated a solar workforce training program to help people of all ages who are interested in either becoming builders, installers, engineers to start upscaling and retaining and being able to go into the new and emerging clean energy economy in Tonga that's happening with all these projects. And so if we were to build a project in American Samoa as well, we would do the same. And working off of our previous trainings in the past, like with our projects in Molokai in Hawaii, where we have trained almost 50 local residents of the Molokai community and will endeavor to train another 20 by the end of this year for a community solar project that we have. In addition to that, we are working as well with the U.S. Department of Energy on the Community Power Accelerator Prize. And in that, we are encouraged to design and build community solar projects, working off of the project I just mentioned in Hawaii, and then doing so in other U.S. territories. And that includes, of course, American Samoa as one place that we would love to build a community solar project that can be partially owned by the community, provide workforce development training, and substantial renewable energy savings of anywhere from 15 to 45% off of electricity bills. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sierra. Hello, everyone. My name is Bryce Barbier. I'm a project finance specialist at Manu'a Pacific. Being born and raised in Maui, Hawaii, where we are based, I've kind of come to have a keen appreciation of the high cost of electricity and what that means on the kind of lifestyle that you can lead. And obviously, from a standpoint in Hawaii, it's even a bit more fortunate than those of you in American Samoa, where prices are even higher. With that being said, some of the aforementioned projects, the community solar efforts that we have, I think are really a great opportunity for American Samoa. And honestly, they really are special in that they lower the barriers to entry for those to participate in the renewable energy transition. And there are quite a plethora of associated benefits as well, where, you know, all of a sudden with a community solar project going slated for development in the community, you're going to have a lot more buy-in and engagement and understanding of truly where a lot of your community's resources are, what keeps your own lights on, and really that we find that can lead to better habits, whether that's in conservation of energy or electricity, and really just a better understanding of the world around you. And that for those reasons, I think it's a great opportunity, and we hope to be working in American Samoa in the near future. Thanks, everyone.
Talofa, my name is Maddie Talbert. I'm the Government Affairs and Renewable Energy intern for Manu'a Pacific. I've been working for Manu'a Pacific for a year now, and I'm a newbie to the industry. And since working for Manu'a Pacific in a team, I've learned the critical role of energy resilience and the close relationship it has with thriving communities. Energy resilience is the backbone of economic opportunity, healthcare, education, and Manu'a Pacific really prioritizes communities.
Thanks, Maddie. Hi, everyone. I'm Logan Weber. I'm Chief Engineer here at Manu'a Pacific. In my role with Manu'a, I help solve the technical challenges that the Pacific Islands face when executing a roadmap to 100% renewables. We view this transition away from fossil fuels not only as critical due to the environmental impact, but also the resilience and affordability impact of the Pacific Islands in moving away from imported fuels and fuel sources. New technology advancements in the world of renewable energy, including energy storage, grid support, controls, and solar generation. The vision of powering 100% of our energy needs from renewable sources is becoming a reality. Here at Manu'a Pacific, we work with a variety of equipment providers across the renewable energy industry. This focus on modeling of systems, on technologies like grid-forming batteries and island-wide controls. All of these have become commonplace in some of the larger islands like Hawaii and Guam in the US. These technologies are important because they're already providing additional stability to the grid, and not just during normal times when everything's functioning properly, but also in the quick restoration of power after disaster events. Ultimately, we think that the transition of renewables is more than just an environmental exercise. It's important to the people from an affordability standpoint, and also important for the resilience and reliability of the electrical infrastructure that you all rely on every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan. Talofa, and a wonderful day to all of you. My name is Oля Reim, and I'm a controller and a projects management director for Manu'a Pacific. First and foremost, thanks and a huge shout out to Lisa and her team for including us in this very important conversation. It is very unfortunate that we're unable to attend in person, but as you know, the continuous issues with logistics and the flights being difficult to attain to American Samoa, we are fortunate to join you virtually and really hoping that the next year we'll be able to join you in person. Well, our role and our team's role is to support the local communities. That's the reason why Manu'a Pacific was created. As you've heard from the rest of the members of our team, we're passionate about creating local economies with local resilience being in the control of the local population. We're very fortunate to be able to have access to a multitude of Pacific Islands communities and looking forward to engage more with you in person, and just wanted to recommit our commitment to your well-being and really creating a holistic and resilient energy for American Samoa community. Thank you.
Thank you, team, for all of the different aspects that you addressed. I'd like to kind of end our discussion today with another small story. We've got one of the islands in the Pacific with whom we're working where they pay the cost of 90 cents per kilowatt hour for every bit of energy they consume. Out of that 90 cents per kilowatt hour, half of that goes to just the cost of generating the energy. In other words, the cost of procuring the diesel, getting it on the island, getting it into the engines, burning it, and then making it available to distribute to the grid. So that means roughly 45 cents per kilowatt hour goes just to the cost of generating the power. With a team like Manu'a Pacific and our partners that I must mention at this time, PICE, Energy, Interzinx Modeling, and Vario as a construction team, we can deliver that energy instead of 45 cents a kilowatt hour, we can deliver it for 15 cents a kilowatt hour to that island. Now, in a number of other islands, depending on the size of the project, we can certainly make the cost a little better in a number of different occasions, but it's not just the cost. It's the technology, the team that we mentioned earlier, and the finance that we bring to the table. All of these things combined puts you as users and consumers of the energy in a driver's seat where you've never been before to control your destiny with regards to energy independence. With energy independence, you also control your economic independence and resiliency. And as we've actually said to a couple of different people over time, it restores the sovereignty of your own island's decision-making, gives you the ability to make the decisions on a global basis about with whom you want to associate based on your values, rather than on some financial equation somewhere. So in closing, I'll ask you to ask of us at Manu'a Pacific and ask of anyone who's trying to serve you with these infrastructure projects to deliver more, to not wait for a grant, not wait for some intergovernmental program. These projects are good projects that can be done today. They're bankable, deliverable, and with the help of you in the community that knows where you want to go, and great people like Wallen Young at American Samoa Power Authority and Lisa Tuato'o in the Energy Department, we can make this a success not only on American Samoa, but we can do the same wherever you allow us to be a member of your family. So in closing, thank you from our Ohana in Hawaii to you, and we look forward to seeing you all soon in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Joe Reed, and the team from Manu'a Pacific for taking the time out to send us this great message about empowering the Pacific. Up next, we have Ms. Liz Skillins, Senior State Director in Hawaii for the Tidal Basin Group.
Thank you. I'll make this really fast. I have 6 slides and a clicker to talk about a little bit of what we do in Hawaii and how you might be able to apply some of the same things that we're learning in Hawaii to the community here. So I kind of listened in to what we were talking about for the last day or two, and I took 3 examples of things that I've seen both my work in Hawaii and that we're doing nationally that may apply here, and give you some ideas to think about. All right, so first and foremost, I work for a company called Tidal Basin Group. We work in about 20 different states across the country. We also work in USVI, Puerto Rico, and we do disaster management work. Really what that means is building capacity. We work on building capacity, which is really important, particularly for island communities where we can't just reach over to the next state over, right? Everything is a little bit harder to get over to us. And of course, first and foremost, I would like to thank Lisa and her team for the invitation. It's really humbling to be here where everyone speaks a minimum of 2 languages. I've taken this opportunity to learn a little bit more Samoan, like Whai Lemu, Whai Lemu. Did I get that right? Where are the speakers? Good? All right, in the back, I got it. And possibly my favorite Samoan saying, "Oh my chicken." That might just be a Lisa-ism, I don't know. So let's get into it. Does anyone know what this is? And you can't answer. Other than a bad picture, does anyone know what that is? That's Starlink. Isn't that crazy? It looks so unimpressive. But that little thing is changing the way we do disaster management. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, right? To be fair, I already had this before we started talking about it. And it's true, there's other companies doing it, there's other ways to do it. But what we did after the Maui fires is, so we lost communication. The community weren't able to connect with each other. It was a particular struggle because people were still within the impacted zone and couldn't be contacted, but we were looking for lost people. That was a specific challenge. And then when we get into the DRCs and we're setting up response initiatives, there's no connectivity. And so we procured Starlinks and used them in several different capacities. We also used them in Hurricane Ian. We used them a little bit differently in Florida, where we actually took the Starlinks and we set them up in community hubs, which was interesting. There were scheduled hours, so between like 10 and 4, the community could come, get Wi-Fi, fill out paperwork, whatever they need to do. So as you guys are looking to deploy something, stuff like this might be something you consider. Also, they come in those little ratty boxes. If you get them, get containers, problem. The other struggle we had was they took a while to get to us. So now the state of Hawaii owns a few dozen Starlinks. Next disaster, we'll have them on hand. But we're not in California, right? So as we're trying to get these, we're trying to think, can the Army fly them out? Can the Coast Guard fly them out? Who can get them to us quickly? That was a challenge. Capacity building, holy smokes. How much have we talked about capacity building this week? In Hawaii, for example, we have 4 people for every 10 jobs out there. And so when we're working to build resiliency in disasters, everyone's already got other things to do. And so how do you build capacity in an already really hard situation? Here's an example of something that we did in Hawaii. We were asked to set up a call center immediately after the fires. What was happening is all of the calls were going directly into Maui Emergency Management Center, which was not equipped to handle it. And county staff who just lost family members, who just had homes burnt down, and were trying to manage their day-to-day jobs, which suddenly became more important, were standing 24-hour shifts to answer the calls. So we said, okay, we'll stand up the call center, but where do we get staff from? I have mainland staff. It's easy to get mainland staff. But as I imagine it is here, it's very important to have people with knowledge of cultural sensitivity and how we operate. You know, when you call and you say your name is Malia and you just lost your house, you don't want people calling you Maria, right? And that's one of our challenges. So what we did is we took a different approach. We went and recruited at our local universities for social work students. These are people that aren't looking for full-time jobs, but are trained in trauma-informed care, and this counts as potential work experience before they even graduate. Something that they can add to the resume and something that will contribute back to our community in times to come. Those are potentially going to be our future emergency management responders, right? And then we did right of entry. So Army Corps of Engineers, so we're clearing debris from all of the affected properties. And part of how we do that is we need permission to enter the property, and the county handles that. So the county said, hey, Tidal Basin, will you help us with this process? Again, we need to hire as much local support as we can, on-the-ground support. The hiring process is hard. On Oahu, on Maui, it's an even tighter labor market. And so what I did is what every smart person in Hawaii does, and I called Fele, who is at the DRCs, and I said, Fele, I have jobs. Find me the right people to bring into this role. And what we did is we hired folks from the visitor industry. Specifically, we hired a few tour bus operators. You know what tour bus operators are really good at? Talking to people. They're really, really good at talking to people. They're also from the community. And so we used folks from the visitor industry, we trained them, and they helped collect all the right of entry forms. And that was huge for us. Again, next disaster that comes our way, Lepa and Malia are gonna be great responders for us and people that we can promote to maybe manage these projects moving forward. And the third one, Kahale villages. So this is just, I wanted to give an example of doing things your way. In Hawaii, we do things differently, and in disasters, we do things differently than what you might see in California or Alabama or other places. So we took our concept, the governor's concept of Kahale villages, which we've used for years with houseless communities, and we are now using this concept in our interim housing builds. So Kahale villages, instead of just standard trailers placed lined up, they're set up to be accessible for multi-generational families, with little courtyards sometimes in the middle, with common areas for cooking, with garden spaces. And it's different than what you might see somewhere else. So as you're going through the process of thinking what works for your community, think about things like this. How would you do it? And it's okay to do it differently. And there are some leftover cost considerations. I think there's a lot of federal folks in here, which I'm sure are, talk about this all the time, and I think of you in the back. But one thing that I have not seen done well, basically anywhere, is cost tracking by nonprofits. So Hawaii's very much a service-oriented community. American Samoa, I can tell in just my 2 days here, very service-oriented community. And as your churches and your nonprofits are donating and giving time, tracking can help in your cost share, which will make Sandy very, very happy if you can do it properly. And that's something to think about, because cost share for Hawaii is a big problem. We're going through it right now, but it's a big problem here too. Omni-channel versus multi-channel development. It sounds like I have a master's when I say that. It's really about procurement and managing your vendors. It's hard to get to Hawaii. It's even harder to get out here. The vendors that we have, we are rethinking how we might use them. So as you guys are working in your various departments, if it's Public Works or EPA or Biosecurity, think about the vendors you have and what other areas they may be able to help you with. And so instead of doing single procurements, think about if you can leverage the vendors you already have to do multiple things. You kind of saw up there above, we did a call center immediately after the fires for MEMA. The call center we were about to close the call center, sort of the need was over, and the county said, hey, can you come and do right of entry forms for us? Can you help us with that? So we kept the call center up. We're an emergency management firm. We don't do call centers, but we do call centers. And we're not a software company, but we helped do right of entry forms using a software system that made it really easy for people to fill out the paperwork, particularly because immediately after the fires, close to 30% of the people that lived in the community were just gone to other areas, Vegas, Oahu, et cetera, and were harder to reach. We also, not unlike American Samoa, have really complicated property histories, some really complicated trusts. I know it's not the same, but it makes it harder. And that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Just to highlight something that my director always says, we're unique circumstances. We require unique solutions, and we can't standardize our solutions when it comes to disaster recovery. But thank you for sharing your best practices and your experiences. Last but not least, we have Miss Allison. Oh, she's already here. Miss Allison Franco.
Thank you. All right, hi everybody. I know I'm between you and your liberty, so I'll try to make this very quick. I'm a bit shorter. Today I'm here talking about some of our grant opportunities, and I know many people mentioned funding and that they were looking for that, so I'm going to give you a few seconds to scan the QR code that's up there. If you're interested in funding and maybe how to secure some funding, that will be very helpful for you. So it is kind of an interactive, super quick presentation. Don't let the amount of slides fool you. There's a reference for you in the future. And this QR code brings you access to these exact slides. So a lot of the slides are interactive, they're clickable, you're able to access resources through the slides once you're there. All right, while you're doing that, I'll briefly introduce myself. Don't let the uniform fool you. I'm not in the Navy anymore. I'm a Navy veteran, but I'm in the public health service now. I'm a health scientist and a public health professional. I'm on detail through Region 9 EPA with EPA here in American Samoa, and I'm unofficially their grants person, so I'm here to talk to you about grants today. But I have broad public health support for whatever needs that they have. Is everybody in? Who wants to be in? Awesome. All right, so I know a few people mentioned it, and I'm just going to briefly say it today. Resilience and disaster resilience specifically is very important for the whole world, but particularly important here in the Pacific Islands. I know that Director had mentioned it earlier, that the Pacific Islands account for 0.03% of the problem for climate change, yet they bear the brunt of the consequences. So it's really important that funding comes here to the people who need it most. Research describes the Pacific Islands as the canaries in the coal mine. I don't know if you're familiar with that analogy, but it pretty much discusses the coal miners used to bring canaries down with them, birds, canaries in little cages, and there were their early warning systems as a biological way to do it. So the birds would either be distressed or die, and they would know that there's a problem with some gases inside the mines, and they would know to get out or to do something about it. So the Pacific Islands have been called the canaries in the coal mine, meaning, hey, we're having issues, we're in distress, we'll see it first here, and then the world knows to do something about it. But it's been designated that for the past 2 decades, which is kind of a big deal. So we need to do something about it, and that's what we're hopefully here to help do. We all have seen what's going on with climate change, and people who live here are very familiar with the effects, so I'm not going to go into those here. These are pictures of the 2009 tsunami here in American Samoa. All right, grants, they help our resilience because guess what? They give us money to help deal with it. And we've heard all day today about how people can use it and what great things they'll put it towards. So I'm not going to waste our time anymore discussing that. In the past, so I'm going to discuss BILIRA funding, or where's Director Lisa? Yes, Director Lisa calls it BILIRA funding for the Bill and IRA. So we're going to quickly go over, we've been getting lots of funding in American Samoa, specifically from EPA. That's what I'm going to discuss since I'm under that umbrella. We've got school bus funding has come in recently for some electric school buses, which is great to help reduce emissions. And then we've got a lot that's been given to ASPA for Swiffer's, the recycling program and waste, and for clean water. All of these things go to help our resilience here in American Samoa. Well, let's talk about what's available now for BILIRA funding. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just a few opportunities that I threw in a slide in case anybody was interested. There are due dates here. Something that I noticed coming into this position is people would ask me about funding. Lots of different agencies would ask me about funding, and lots of people wouldn't know where to look, and there was no one spot for territorial availability funding. So I made a tracker that we'll go over in just a minute, so you can just look in one place for BILIRA funding. We've got WaterSmart coming up. If you're interested in clean water, I don't know if ASPA's here. I don't see them, so we're just gonna go through it super fast. Heat mitigation is coming up from NOAA, and this is for a roundtable discussion to have an emergency heat response plan. It's pretty great. We've got the Community Change Grant. If you were here yesterday, you heard Dr. Sabrina talk about this for Fina Finau. They're applying for it. This is open to any kind of nonprofit institution who wants to partner with another nonprofit or an agency. It's quite a bit of money, so you've got to have a great plan, and it's got to fit into a lot of different ways to help the community. But that one's rolling until November. We've got DERA coming up. This is a really popular EPA grant, and this is for diesel emissions reduction grant, and it's where you trade in old diesel engines for more efficient versions or electric versions or hybrid versions, but ones that release less emissions. That one's ending in December. Oh, hey, how many of you clicked on the link? Are you in my slides, anybody? If you're in, these are all clickable. If you go up to where the title is, the raise grants will take you to the page where the grants are, or you could look in the speaker notes, and I linked the NOFOs there. So if you're interested in any of these funding opportunities, they're clickable, and the NOFO has the information in the speaker notes. All right, so here's the tracker I mentioned. This was my brainchild because I needed to keep place of everything in one spot. So if you click on it, you'll be able to see it. Did Mr. Guy leave already? I think so. I'm last. Sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Mr. Guy left, but I was hoping that he'd be able to see this opportunity up here. So on my tracker, if you're inside of this link, you'll be able to see along the bottom, I have a lot of different categories for different types of grants available to the territories. And I've divided it up by whatever it is. Could be energy, could be diesel emissions. And then each one is described for what law it's based under. They're all clickable links. Oh, thank you for that. They're all clickable links, so you can go straight into the page where this grant is mentioned. And then if you see there's the purpose, it's just a real quick sheet So it's all in one spot. You don't have to look in everyone's website to find it. The amount is there, the type of grant is there, the no-fo link is there, the deadline is there, and then I put some notes for some of them. In fact, this is an old picture, but if you're on the link right now, I also added a column that explains eligibility, so then you can look real fast and see if your entity is eligible to apply, if it's an agency, if it's a nonprofit organization, or if you're a for-profit institution. And something I have to note down at the bottom is this is not all of the grants available. This is just what I happen to come across in the categorization in my brain and how I was putting it in. If you have a funding opportunity, maybe you're a federal partner here, I'll be happy to see it and stick it into my tracker because I found that lots of agencies here have found it to be helpful, as well as agencies from Guam and CNMI. One more thing about my tracker. At the very end, there's a spot that says resources down at the bottom in one of the tabs, and that is a sheet for where I got all of these grant opportunities. Included at the top of that, can you click on it by any chance for us? At the top of that is an IRA tracker where they will email you grants as they come out, which is pretty helpful. So if you access the resource page at the very top, there we go. Resources is the last tab in that workbook. So down at the very bottom, is this a pointer? Yeah, keep going over. Over. No, down at the bottom. Sorry, this is difficult to do with just a pointer. At the very bottom row where there's listed the categories. Okay, no, not there, even lower. Yes, the tabs. And now go to where the arrows are at the end of the tabs. Yes, more, all the way to the end. Click the arrows. Are you able to click? There we go. Can you click on funding sources? Perfect. All right, that very first funding source, it's an IRA tracker where you can put in your email and they send you updates whenever an IRA grant comes out so you don't miss anything. All right, if you'd like access to this, it's here, it's clickable within my slides. Hopefully you used my QR code. If you didn't, I'll give it to you again at the end. All right, let's keep going. Can we go back to my presentation? Can I click? All right, so lots of people were interested in that because they've missed funding opportunities in the past. Hopefully we don't miss them moving forward, especially because there's only about a year left of this funding for Bilira. But many people are like, I have this opportunity, but I don't know how to apply for it. If that's you, here you go. Here's a free resource for you. You can click here where it says here, and they will help you with all your grant needs. So we've got this one from the West Environmental Justice Center. We've got this one from the Center for Community, Energy, and Environmental Justice. Again, just click on the here link, and they will help you with all of your needs, setting up the grant, setting up your program that you could use. And we've got Water TA. If it's a water-based grant, EPA will help you with that grant. If you have any questions, that's my email right there. If you missed the QR code in the beginning because you didn't think it was for you, and now you found out it is, there it is for you. You can't miss it. And if you wanted some resources to prove some of that information that I said in the beginning about the percentage of emissions that the Pacific Islands contribute to, there's my references there. All right. Send any questions my way. Thank you, everybody. I hope I didn't keep you too long.
Thank you, Miss Alice. The first time I met her, I changed her name to Alice in Wonderland. And that's because she's providing a lot of good things in our Wonderland. Now, when she was talking about Bilira, so my other hat is that I am the American Samoa, or the territory's coordinator for all of the bipartisan infrastructure law, BIL, and Inflation Reduction Act, IRA. Since these are Bill and Ira, they are male names, I changed them to be a female name. And that's why it's called Bilira. And Alice was referring to that is Bilira, because it takes one woman to do the job of two gentlemen. And that's how we come together. Yes! So we have weekly Bilira meetings at the ODAPM office, and I would like to invite each and every one of you Alice can share more about all the funding resources that are available, and also so we can help you in any way that our office can. Our Bilira duties are actually additional duties to our office, but we love to do it because we're very passionate about helping the people of American Samoa, and the reason why we have these annual summits, to bridge the gaps, to bring everyone together. I know because all of our agencies, you do a lot of great work independent and very separated from one another. So these summits is the glue to bring you all together so that we can share information. If not, just visit our website, call our office, stop by, because most people, they use these kind of meetings to come and say, well, I didn't know that exists. I didn't know this. Well, please call my office. If I don't know the answers, I will direct you to someone who's able to help you, because we coordinate the Hazard Mitigation Council that administers all the funding from FEMA. Thank you very much, FEMA. And that includes Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources, LBJ, ASTICA, DOH, we have DOC, Office of Someone. A lot of agencies come together to submit our annual applications to the BRIC money, flood mitigation money, and all of the funding resources that are available. So please, before we become indifferent, come together. That's why we're here. We don't want to be indifferent. And I do want to acknowledge the importance of our panel discussions with the biosecurity and the food security. Our territory is a containerized community. Everything is shipped in here. And that's why I wanted to showcase that we have the subject matter experts from American Samoa. Yes, in biosecurity. Thank you, Tavi, for the joint presentation with a great panel up here. And thank you, DMWR, to remind us that, yes, biosecurity will not happen without your being here, but also food security. These are important matters to discuss now. We don't want to wait until something happens and then say, hey, nobody did anything, but look, we're doing something. And the great thing that came out of our summit yesterday and today, I have directors coming up and say, let's not do this one time. Let's do this on a quarterly basis for the local people to talk together. It only takes you guys coming to our office or coming to our panels so people know that what we have and what we can offer. We have a lot of smart people, homegrown people, who have the extensive experience and knowledge that can add and contribute to we have an emergency operations plan. We are having policies drafted for climate change, adaptation, transformation. We also have, the senators have passed the Emergency Management Assistance Compact legislation. American Samoa is the only territory out of all the states and territory that is not a member of EMAC. And EMAC allows our territory to reach out to the states and territories for assistance in disasters that are locally declared and not federally declared. So we can reach out to Hawaii to provide the equipment that we need. Whoever is closest to us, they will come together using this resource, this EMAC. The House of Representatives is currently reviewing the EMAC. These are all important things that we have to be aware of. Last year, historically, American Samoa became a member of Silver Jackets. Thank you, Nicholas. That's right. For the Army Corps and FEMA for approving American Samoa's application. We have Camila's Stevenson Pofa, who will help coordinate and put all of our applications together with our partners. See, partnership and working together, I really appreciate you staying throughout our summit and taking back all the knowledge that's been imparted by everyone here. Everyone sitting here has something to share and something to offer. Thank you very much, Monica, from the veterans. Thank you for your service. Thank you to our gentlemen here from our armed forces. Thank you, anyone who has served for our country. Your service is providing us this opportunity to provide and work and do everything that we can for our community. Because it's our community, it's our responsibility. It's up to us, all of us here. And I'm grateful for the partnership from Director Ama, from the Governor's Resilience Office, Director Manu'a from Department of Homeland Security, and Paramount Chief Manu'a, the Secretary of the Office of Samoan Affairs. And I'm very fortunate to have the support, full support from Azteca for the free Wi-Fi, and Director Awelua of the KVZK for live streaming and documenting this event. We will go look back and take back the lessons learned. What have we learned? How do we move forward? And what have been identified as our positive solutions to all of our challenges? Because I say this and I share it with Katie, and Katie's like, because I go to the federal meetings and I said, American Samoa has unique circumstances. We have unique challenges. And I don't want anyone that lives in New Jersey to review our applications, because if they've never been to American Samoa, they've never felt what we feel, they never know what we know. I want someone to be here that looks at our BRIC applications and say, oh, I know what they're feeling. I know what they're talking about. And then with all that understanding, they will approve all of our applications. Thank you for that support. Thank you, Vanita. Oh, my chicken. That's right. I say, oh, my chicken all the time when I go. And these guys know, because Vanita, she's an ecologist by profession from the U.S. Department of Interior. She has opened my eyes to the importance of biosecurity. And with the passionate from Tavi, Deputy Director Selina, we have Eileen from DOH, Matt Tuia and Director and Deputy of our Agriculture, Customs. Customs is very important because we need to protect our border, and we need to prevent the invasive species from invading us, because our lives depend on it. Like the Mark Schmedic, he's working on the fire ants, the little fire ants. If the little fire ants fall on your dogs, they will become blind. If they so much touch our bodies, we are hurt. My eyes were open when we went to Guam. Thank you very much, Vanita. And that biosecurity is very important. We need to keep the snakes out. We don't need the snakes here. Somebody may just bring it on their container, moving after they're working in the mainland for a long time, coming back home. We don't need all your invasive species. We have enough invasive species here. So, yeah, please, but thank you very much, guys, for the knowledge. Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists. I cannot thank each and every one of you. No man is an island. Huh? I would also like to acknowledge the church leaders who are here attending our summit, because this is a whole community approach, and we would like to include everyone from each sector, the private sector, our nonprofit organizations, our faith-based organizations, churches, everyone here. That's why we had great presentation from Director of TAWA on aging, because we want to bring them in. We want them to know that we need to educate our elderly. We always have, Homeland Security does a great job with evacuation drills and outreach out in the schools, but I don't know if we have enough outreach for the elderly, but we do when they go out into the churches, the villages. So we want to bring everyone together. Thank you very much, all of our church leaders, for coming today. Hope that we were able to share something of value with you, and that way you can reach out to anyone in here if you have any questions. I don't want to hold you back from anything that you need to do, other than God bless you. We thank God for being with us today, and the Holy Spirit for helping us. At this time, I'd like to ask Reverend Dr. Ama to close us with a prayer. Maybe he can sing a song for us. Okay. He said he will say our prayer.
Tato talo, let us pray. E tū Manu'a e le tū longolongo. Awa oe o le atua e te tau longolongo pēa lava pēa. Ma whamanatu mai o mātou tangata lo mātou walawina. I tofi matiute e te tau mao no mātou whaia. Lea lo mātou anganga whawhataile li ie whawho i atu i lau whio i le nei fo i tu waso. E na ua whaiuina ma le manuia la mātou fuafuanga ma le polkalama. O le nei a o onga tā ua mo i mātou o lo mātou atunu ma mātou matawhai oi. Lea mātou sauni e tu ua ma malolo le li ia la mātou talo. E tu mau mai lo manuia ma lo file mui ai mātou. Tu li loina i mātou e lo lava nganga ma ia lea unoa pea na tātou mawhutanga ma lau fio. Pui pui malu i le soifua ma lo mātou wola. We have come to the conclusion of this day's program. We have been blessed with the wealth of knowledge and experiences. Lord God, we pray that you continue to be with us so that we can digest, simplify, and search for mediums of communication where we can channel the information to our communities. Bless us as we leave this place and be with us now and forevermore. Amen.
Thank you, Director Amamo. Thank you again to all of our speakers. We start tomorrow at 8:30. So we completed yesterday. Day one was leadership meetings. Today are our training. Tomorrow and Friday will be outreach. And we have 2 speakers each day. Thank you again from Miss Molly, Liz, Alice in Wonderland, Alice Franco, and all of our speakers today, Talapapa from the petroleum side of the house. Thank you. If I missed someone, please forgive me, but please come back tomorrow. We will try not to serve ice cream in the morning, but thank you again. See you tomorrow.